And good morning, all you visitors to the SuperLab. I was just at the last second then, I was trying to think of a sea shanty type introduction, but I can't think of one. But first, I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. So, no audio? Aha. Let me see. No audio. Is there really no audio? Or is it just Dodgy who has no audio? Yes. Okay, thank you. Audio is confirmed. Okay, Dodgy, sounds like it is just you. Yeah, I think it is just you. So maybe you need to plug your headphones in. Yes, audio but crackly. Well, what you might be hearing is the crackle of the gas heater, which is just near me. Hang on. There's a big gas radiator there that is crackling away and keeping the place warm, warming it up. So, how is everybody today? I hope you're having a great morning. Where to begin? Okay. So, the reason that I am doing this today, here from the SuperLab, even though it is not ready and it is not close to ready, is to give you a bit of an update on where things are up to. Because it's been a while. I've had access to this place for a few months now, and I'm still not actually working from here. But, yeah, okay. So, Chip, if you said you felt warmer when I showed you the heater, maybe I should do this. Yeah, is that better? Works better for you? Now you've got both me and the heater. Also, that reminds me, Chip, I did get your email. Thank you. I need to follow that up. I'm really sorry that I haven't yet. I've had a few things going on, and it's one of those emails that, you know, the ones that don't matter, you end up just replying to, and the ones that do matter, you put off because you got to think about it, and it feels like it's worthy of a proper response. So I will reply, I promise. And where am I? Let's just go for a little bit of a tour. Let's start with that. Okay. Now, actually, just before this live stream, Sion messaged me and was asking about the progress here. So let's go for a walk first, and then I'll do a wrap up. I've got to try not to fall over things. Now, I don't know how the audio here is going to work. I'm going to spin this right around, so I can't actually see what the camera is pointing at, and hopefully you can still hear me okay. But this is really the only way I've got to do this because I'm just using my laptop at the moment. So what we can see here is the front door. I'm not going to bother going outside at the moment. There's nothing much to show. Well, actually, one thing to show. Since the last time I was here doing a live stream, the front window has been blanked off. But yeah, that's not particularly interesting. So front door there, which is all in a big mess. At some point, once I can afford it, what I would really like to do is rip out that entire front door unit and replace it with something like a big aluminium framed door and window combination, something that's a bit nicer. In the meantime, I'm going to sand that back and paint it, make it look a bit more respectable. But that's, yeah, it looks a bit crappy at the moment. And that's, as you can see, I haven't touched it. I've just left that whole part of the room. But the big change is, if you look around, okay, we'll stay at ground level for now. And you can see the front part of the room here. Where I'm pointing the camera right now, that big blank wall, that's where the window used to be. So there was that long window that went out into looked out onto the street, except that it was sort of frosted glass and really old and you couldn't see out anyway. So that's all been blanked off. I framed out the cavity and stuffed it with insulation and then put plasterboard over the top and filled and sanded and stuff, and now the window has vanished. Over on this wall, So what you can see here, this wall is still quite a mess, and there is there is water damage through here, and don't know if you can see up the top there where the cornice is. You can see a little mark up there, and this whole wall has had water seeping down behind the plaster. I don't think it's not been a lot of volume, but it's just been like moisture getting through over years and years. So there is like a strip all the way down that wall where there has been moisture behind it, and it's really obvious now that all of the shelving and everything's been removed. Now you can see outlines on the wall there because none of this wall hasn't been exposed for many years, probably decades. There were benches around here and there was stuff attached to the wall, and then that's all been pulled off, and now that it's revealed what's behind it. So now the plaster can breathe for the first time in years, and I think it is drying out. And you can see I've done a bit of patching and some things. Also got to fix wherever the source of the water is up the top. And the other thing, so I will just come in and slowly complete the circle around here. So that's looking back towards the glass wall. Where I was standing when I started the live stream was just in there in front of where that rubbish bin is, and the laptop was sitting up on the pile of carpet tiles. And coming back around to this corner and looking back again, you can see the glass wall. There's a little alcove over in the far corner. That's where there's going to be like a little, like a mini kitchenette sort of thing. There'll be a sideboard in there, hopefully a little fridge, a coffee machine, all that sort of stuff, where the lights are hanging down. And yeah, just in that little alcove. Then, other things. Oh, and also, I should just say, right now, because I'm walking around like this, I can't see the chat at all. It's, I just can't see anything. So hopefully I'll catch up on some chat in a minute. Now you can see that there are little lines around the wall, pencil marks, just here. Now these lines, and you can see they're all the way over there on the far wall, and there are bits of tape on the glass there, on the fixed bits of glass, all around here. So this was done with a laser level. My friend Steve came in with his laser level, and we put marks around the walls. And so basically that's a fixed reference point. And then what I needed to do, so it's not at any particular height, it was just arbitrary. It's just, we stuck the laser level on the tripod, drew marks on the walls, and that way we've got a known reference point all the way around the room. And that was when I discovered that the floor is not level. In fact, the floor down in that corner is about 15 millimeters lower than the floor up in the front, in the opposite corner. So up the front there is the high point. It's about 15 millimeters higher than the back side. And also, this wall isn't straight. It's leaning that way a little bit. So the reason for the reference lines, apart from discovering that the floor wasn't straight, is so that I could measure up from those. So I figured out how high I wanted the ceiling to be, measured the height of those lines, worked out the difference, and then measured off the lines around the room and put marks up. And you can see the edge strip running around there now, so that's where the ceiling tiles are going to go. For a little while, what I was planning to do was to box in this entire area and put a solid ceiling in there, but in the end I thought I'd just take the ceiling tiles straight through. But what I have done, I did this yesterday morning, is I got a piece of timber and filled in a strip along here so that I could turn that into a straight line. Otherwise the tiles would have had to do a little dogleg around the end of this pillar, but now it's just a straight line down into the corner there. And, okay, so this brings us to that light switch. Alright, so what's going to happen with this? Lighting in this room. There is fixed lighting, so you can see up here there are battens attached to the ceiling, by which I mean the light battens, not the timber battens, and they are switched off that light switch. And if I come around here, you can see that up in this side there is one there that was hanging on chains, and there is a row of 3 up here on a steel bar which are also hanging on chains. And what I've done is just raised those up and attached them close to the ceiling so that they are above the height of where the suspended ceiling is going to go. And to avoid any electrical work, what I did was just unscrew the GPO from the wall. You can see that it was attached there, and just swung it up out of the way and cable tied it up against a little bracket. So the idea is I'm not changing anything about the existing lighting in the room. It's just not going to be turned on. All the lights will remain there, the light switch will remain there. It's going to be above the level of the ceiling tile so that no one sees it, and it'll just be turned off permanently. And then new lighting can go into the ceiling grid system up here. And this is what I was doing yesterday. So I was just starting to put in this ceiling grid, and you can see that I've got a couple of the main cross pieces in. I still need to put in some more hangers. Now these particular tiles, these are all, it's second-hand grid and second-hand tiles. You can see there are some marks on these ones. Before I did this, I went through all the tiles and classified them. I basically pulled out the ones that were in perfect condition and the ones that were a bit damaged or a bit marked. And these are the B grade tiles, the ones that have got marks on them. I just put them up there yesterday because I wanted to be sure that I was doing the right thing, with the way I was putting the grid in, and that I had all the spacing correct. So these tiles will probably end up being moved somewhere else. Like, they won't be in a prominent position like that. I will be cleaning these ones up and using them, but they won't be right there in the most obvious position. They will be cut and used as half tiles or narrower strips along the edge or something like that. And then I'll use the good tiles for the section along here. So, what else? Oh, you might also notice, sorry, I'm trying not to wave the thing around too much. You might also notice that this wall here was painted black and then I've repainted it before I put the ceiling tiles in. Well, I've repainted the strip up to above the tile line because my idea had been to make this whole wall black all the way up, and that way the wall would kind of disappear, and then when you're looking through into the clean room, which will be in through this section, the wall will be essentially invisible. You just won't notice it. And I couldn't figure out what to do about ending the black along this area here. Like, do I take it up in line with the door frame straight up, or do I do that part of the pillar as well on the outer face? Then what happens with the inside, or do I do the whole wall all the way to this corner? Anyway, it was all a bit weird. And also I want to stick monitors all the way along the top there. There's going to be a row of monitors above that those doors. So I still don't know. I still might end up painting this like in a paint black from this point straight up to the ceiling tiles, or maybe up and then along just above where the monitors will go, so that it's like the monitors and the windows are a black panel. I don't know. Still trying to figure all of that out. Anyway. Okay. Oh, and the other thing, just some of the things I was messing around with. One of the difficulties as I've been putting up this ceiling tile system, I'll see if you can see here, get the angle correct. Now the long runs that come along here have to be suspended by wires, and then the intermediates clip between the long runs. Now the problem is that the ceiling joists here run in the same direction as the long runs, which is bad because you can't pick up the correct intersection point for the hanger. Luckily, the joists in this half of the room go almost exactly over where the long runs need to be, which is amazing. It's like such a fluke. It wasn't measured that way, it just happened to be exactly underneath. And you can see here that those hangers go straight up to where the joists are. But the problem is that those joists end right about here, and the other half of the room, they are offset, which sucks because it means I can't put hangers up into them. So what I've had to do is get bits of timber and screw it between the two joists to provide a mounting location for the hanger wire. So one of my jobs for today is to add more of these timber battens at other intermediate locations and put more hanger wires there. And then to put I've got two more long runs to do. I've got one that goes the full length of the room along here, and then a short one in that part of the room there. So coming back out. Where else? Let's go for a little walk this way. So this is out into the mechanical area. This this part here, you can see it's just full of tools and crap. So that's it's really good having this as an area that I can use for getting everything ready, or just somewhere to put all the tools, keep them out of the way. So this whole area is basically just the tool mechanical workshop at the moment. And ultimately, once the whole place is set up, that's what it's going to remain. It's just that the tools will all be properly set up. At the moment, they're all just sitting around in big piles. Now you can see that I put a second coat of paint on the floor here, and right here is where one of the server racks is going to go, and then the other server rack is going to go next door for lock-on to use. So I've got two coats of paint on this part of the floor now. It's the only part of the floor that's actually properly done. You can see the difference. If I back up here, you can see the other part of the floor had one coat on it, and then I went through and filled a whole lot of little holes in the floor, and then put the sand, ran the sander over them to smooth it all off. And then down in this part, you can see where the second coat has gone on, and it's looking much better. Continuing down here a little bit, you can see there are the doors from the server racks, and there are two server racks plus some just industrial racking shelving. That's actually the shelf that used to have my reflow oven on it when it was set up in the bathroom. Now you can see there's some nasty stuff here dripping down from the ceiling. Ugh, that's pretty gross. And there are some other drips over here as well. Down here and over there and over there. Not nice. Yeah, there's stuff leaking from up on the ceiling. Coming around the back here. And I brought some more of the server racks from home. So down there are, yeah, a couple more machines down there. And last week, I think it was, I can't remember, Andrew Cochran came around. Might have been the week before, I can't remember. And he has very kindly lent me a Unify Security Gateway Pro and a Cloud Key, and also 3 of these little Flex Mini Ethernet switches, which is really, really generous of him. So Andrew, thank you very much for that. That's going to be a really big help. So those are going to go into the rack. In fact, in a second, I'm going to show you some of the ideas for setting up the rack. These racks are 45 rack unit, which is pretty large. A normal full height rack, I think, is 42 RU, and these ones are 45, which, yeah, it's way higher than I am. It's a lot taller than me. So there's plenty of space in that for all of the gear that I could possibly need. So coming back around, and we'll just wave to Steve up there. He's up the top. Okay, plug it back into power just in case. Right. Right. Okay, so, Gavin said, whenever I do these streams, a large proportion of the stream is people pointing out how I am not following regulations. Yes, the ceiling grid needs more support, so I've got to go through and put more wire supports in there, and also a catenary. I've had this discussion before. I can't say the word catenary. Cat. I don't know. I just can't say that word. So I'm going to say catenary. I think that's close enough. You know what I mean. And a catenary wire for hanging the electricals from. Yeah. So, catenary. Thanks, Scott. I need the phonetic spelling. All right. So, Gavin says 2 screws and a prayer doesn't sound much like a way to support a suspended ceiling. Yeah. Yes. What it's screwing into is, it is actually fairly strong. You can put a lot of weight through it. They are hardwood joists up inside. So I cut a little hole inside the plaster. I don't know, you might have seen that as I was waving the camera around, so that I could get a camera inside and see what's going on inside that ceiling. It's got hardwood joists running through, and they seem to be very rigid and very well supported. So the battens that I've been screwing in, I've been putting 60mm screws through so it's got the wooden batten, 60mm screw through the plaster, which is 10mm, and then into the hardwood joist. So it seems from, like, I've put a lot of force on it trying to test it, and basically I could hang off one of those. So I think they'll be okay, particularly once I put more in. Chip says, you're underestimating the power of prayer. Yeah. Underestimating the power of 2 screws. Yeah, and I was just trying to get because I'm doing all of this on my own, putting up those long lengths of the ceiling grid can be a little bit awkward, because you've got to sort of hook one end and then support the other. So what I've done is put in wires to support it and get the basic shape in place, and now I've got to go back and put more wires in at the intermediate points and strengthen it all up. Sion wants me to go hang on one. Yeah. So, well, I have a way of overbuilding things. I tend to be a bit paranoid about whether things have been strong enough. Okay, so this is a squirrel to chase. As I think I've mentioned in the live stream before, we've got, Peter says needs more bar fridge. It's going to have one. And Mr. Fixit says, do I have a laser level? I don't, but my friend Steve does, and he brought it around, which is how we got all those reference lines. So, as I've mentioned on the live stream before, we don't have a bathroom at home right now. It's been ripped out because there was a water leak, which over a period of time caused mold to grow under the house, and so there was an insurance claim, and it's all been ripped out. And the thing is that the builders that have been sent by the insurance company to rip it out have been swearing and complaining because first they couldn't get the tiles off the wall because they were stuck on too strongly. Then they couldn't get the cement sheet off the wall because it was adhered too strongly. And they spent days and days just trying to do the demolition side of it because the room was basically indestructible. And yeah, I didn't want to tell them that it was me that did it. So they were complaining about how much glue there was and how many screws there were, and the room was, it was built like a prison cell. They couldn't damage it. Right. So, where are we? Oh yes. Okay. So, Sion sent me that message before the live stream, saying that he was keen to see how this was going, and we are now in month 3. I don't know how far into month 3, but certainly well into month 3 of me trying to get this space into a usable shape so I can begin moving in. Because at the moment I am still at the stage of trying to get the space, the basic shell, into a clean enough state that I can then start moving in the things that I need and start setting it up. So it's not yet at the lab setup stage. It's still at the fix the building stage. So, yeah. So, advice for Sion. Number 1, unless you have lots and lots of time or lots of spare money to spend, make sure you if you're going to move out and set up like a lab or a workshop or something like that, get a place that is already in a state that is ready for you to start setting it up. So Sion just said, do you think it would have been quicker to just move into an empty concrete shell? That's pretty much all I can find. Absolutely 100%. So the ideal is to find a space that is already in a state where the basic shell or the structure is good enough for you to just start doing your fit out and set it up the way you want it. The issue I've had with this is I had to start with demolition. So the wall that you can see behind me, that's all new construction, and there was a wall there, but that had to be demolished, and because it was in terrible shape. It was falling apart. It was water. I think there was a bit of water damage. There were, it had like borers or something that had been through it in the past years prior, so a lot of the timbers had just been eaten away. The plasterboard, what was left of it, was in really bad shape because it had wallpaper attached to it, and things and stuff had been changed and bashed around. Basically, it was a mess. It really couldn't be saved. So, as Dodgy says, I had to go backwards to go forwards. Yes. First step was a whole lot of demolition, removing everything that was there before. And even now you can see, if I bring this around to here, you can see that bit of plasterboard that goes up there. The bottom part has been painted black. You can see there's wallpaper up in the top part. And if I bring, oops, I just tripped over a bit of aluminium. And on this wall here, you can see there is plaster attached to it, and that's got wallpaper on it. But taking that plaster off is going to be impossible and leave a reasonable finish on the wall. So in order to fix that, what I have to do is I'm going to have to put another layer of plasterboard all the way along that side wall and finish it off and paint it. Whereas if the crappy plasterboard wasn't there in the first place, I could have just painted the wall and it'd all be done. So a lot of the work that I've been putting in over the last couple of months has been about fixing the basic things to try to get the shell into a reasonable shape so I can then start putting my stuff into it. And I'm not there yet. I'm still building the shell. And my original idea when I started this was that I was going to do videos about the whole process of setting up the workshop and all the steps that were involved. And the thing is that all of the stuff I've been doing so far hasn't really been relevant. It's been undoing the damage and cleaning up the existing space. So what I would like to do is do some videos once I get to the point where the room is clean and empty and I can actually start setting it up and putting stuff in. That's probably the time when I would start doing videos about it and showing what I'm putting in and why I'm putting it in certain ways and that sort of thing. Yeah, so summary for Sion. Find a place that is ready for you to start fitting it out. That's probably the thing. The downside, of course, is then it costs more. So the really big advantage, and several big advantages to this place in the long run. Once I get past this hump of getting to the point where I can use it, and also there's still a lot of stuff in here that needs to come out. Like, in fact, where I'm standing right now, like this stuff in here, this is not mine. That all still needs to be removed before I can use that space. And my pick and place machines are next door, so there's kind of a bit of a trade-off. Lachlan has my pick and place machines taking up room on his side, and I have his forklift and box and timber and stuff taking up room on my side. So it balances out. Like we're both using each other's space. But I need to get to the point where I can bring those machines in here, this stuff can go back over there, and I can start arranging everything nicely. Yeah. Yeah, Sion says, I guess you're going to end up with something more showy than I'd be wanting to set up. I need a solid production and manufacturing space more than a SuperLab. Yeah. So I also need a solid production and manufacturing space, but I'm willing to go to a bit of extra work to give it bling. Ultra Turbo Lab. Yeah. So that's the reason for doing things like the big glass wall there. I want people to be able to walk up and look through the glass wall and see the clean room with the pick and place machines and all of that sort of thing without actually physically going inside it. So yeah, it's partly about practicality and making a really nice clean environment for production and for working in, and also partly about the visuals when someone arrives. And yeah, as Stephen says, bling looks impressive to clients. Someone says, I do bling as a secondary thing. Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of bling. I like the idea of making things look impressive as long as it doesn't harm functionality. Like, I wouldn't make design decisions or layout decisions purely on the basis of aesthetics if that then makes it harder to work in. It needs to be a practical space. And that's partly why before I actually got possession of this place, I spent so long in Floor Planner playing around with different orientations and things, because it's a matter of thinking through the flow of, okay, if you put solder paste on, if the boards are stored here, and you put the solder paste on here, and then it goes into the machine, then you've got to do inspection, and then you've got to do reflow, and then inspection again, and all of that sort of thing. What is the sequence of events to make that as efficient as possible? And I wanted to make sure that the workflow of the production facility was practical and ergonomic. And Sion is still arguing against the bling. Bling costs money and takes time. Bling won't make, clean, or pack your boards faster. Yes, that's absolutely right. But what I want to do is, the other way of looking at it is, if you've got two ways of doing things and they're both as practical as each other, and one of them looks good and the other one doesn't, just do the one that looks good. Yes. Yeah, Gavin says, in 1985, we called the glass wall computer room the fishbowl rooms. It was fun to watch the visitors bob up and down outside like a bunch of fish in a fishbowl. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So when I set up the server room at IVT, back before we moved everything into a data center in the city, we had our own little data center in the office. In fact, in both offices, in the first office, there was a passageway that you walk down in the middle of the building, and on the right was the server room, and on the left were a couple of little private offices. And what I did was put windows all the way along the right-hand side where the server room was. So visitors that came to the office had to walk down the passage, and they had to walk past this long glass, like long series of windows looking in onto all the server racks. And everybody would just stand there and stare at the blinking lights. Yes. Okay, Chip, go and get yourself a coffee. Peter said, isn't Sion the bloke with a massive flashy bling sign in his live stream? Yes. Yes. Okay, I get your point, Sion. So Sion said, I don't want to work in a shithole or a place I won't enjoy being in, but impressing clients with bling, well, they should be impressed with your work first. Yes. That is true. There's no point just making it all smoke and mirrors and lights and holograms. It needs to be real, and you need to actually be able to produce things and do things. Now, where are we up to? I was going to talk. That's right. Okay. Let me see if I can mess around. Hang on. Before I do that, I've just got to go back to here and then back to here. Just checking Windows because I'm doing this off my laptop, which is really tricky because I've got a single screen. I can't preview anything. If I switch to screen share, let's see what happens. It worked. Amazing. Okay. So what I've been trying to do is figure out lighting. I mean, this is not really worthy of a huge amount of talking time, but this is my plan for the ceiling grid. Each one of these is a ceiling tile because of the width of the room, there is just slightly more than half a tile down each side. You can see these, this row here and this row here. You might have noticed that when I was waving the camera at the ceiling. So these tiles are just over 0.5 of a tile wide. It's like 650 millimeters or something. No, not 650. 350, because these tiles are 600 by 1200. And the yellow bits are where I'm going to put lights. I've just been trying to figure out how to do this. And so, okay, getting back to that thing I was talking about with the existing lights being pushed up out of the way. What will happen is that I will have just the lighting panels that you drop into the ceiling grid with a half-width tile beside it. So the lights are 300 by 1200 millimeters. You put a half tile in next to it and it just sits in place. So these lights have flying leads on them, and the idea is to take the leads from those and plug them into a Z-Wave power board. So I've got in fact, these, all these big brown boxes right here, they're all full of Z-Wave power boards, and they're 6 outlet power boards, which just happens to be perfect. So what I can do is have individual control and power monitoring over each of these lights, and that's probably all that's worth talking about with that. Not that exciting. But anyway, this was just me figuring out where I'm going to put them, and because I'm kind of pedantic, I've got them spaced so that it just worked out nicely this way. There is 1.5 tiles gap here to the light on this side. There is 1.5 tiles gap here to the light on this side. There are no lights along this edge, and this wall here, right there, that approximately there, that is where the glass wall is. Actually, more like from there to where? About there. Yeah, so that section there is where the glass wall is. In fact, let's, just to indicate that, let's go for, what color should I use? I'm just going to use blue, and I'll make it thicker and stick it on there. Okay, so that blue section is the glass wall looking through into the clean room. And part of this, I've been trying to figure out where these lights should go. I don't want them to be directly overhead when you're standing in front of this wall. But then having them too far back is bad as well, because then you get reflections from them in the glass. So anyway, this is coming back to the showmanship sort of conversation again. Let's not get into that. Okay. Don't I have LibreOffice for Mac? Yes, I do, but I don't like it. Right. Alan. See you, Alan. Thanks for coming. Tradie Trev says, Truffle Lights, have you seen Perlite make a COVID fitting for those sectional ceilings? A COVID fitting? What does that mean? Tradie Trev. Yeah, so Troffers is what I'm going to put in, and I already have them all. They are currently in my workshop at home. I'm just going to relocate them and stick them in the grid here. And then at home, so where my current lab is at home, it's going to be converted from being a workshop sort of area, which it is now, into being more of a, like a general, it's going to be like a bedroom slash workroom used by my daughter for doing her fashion design stuff, but she needs lots of space to lay out some benches for doing things like laying out fabric. And she doesn't have much space to work at home at the moment, so she's going to take over that room. And I'm going to take all of the Troffer lights that I currently have in there and just put LED downlights all through it. Yes, and as Scott says, yet another benefit to having the ceiling grid is you can rearrange the lighting. Yeah. Andrew pointed out, not allowed to have a power board in an inaccessible location. Cool. All right. So the power board is not going to be inside the ceiling. What was I doing? That's right. I was thinking about... Where? Hang on, I got to switch. What am I doing? I'm lost because I got layered windows here. Okay, so I've been messing around with this as well. So this is not like a proper layout. This is just trying to stick some things in that I've just been trying to figure out what things I need to put in the rack so that when I move it into place. Now, one of the, how do I explain this? Maybe the easiest way is hand waving. So let's do some hand waving and pointing and see if this makes any sense. So the server rack is going to sit on this bit of floor right about there. Where you see the end of the wall there, that's going to be extended. So this will be the wall of the clean room. Will run from there basically along there. So where I'm standing right now, this part inside the clean room. That part over there, outside the clean room. That wall will just be continued along. And the server rack will sit inside the clean room in this area right here. And then, and you can see there, I had to rip plaster off the wall. I've got to put new plaster on there. That's all part of the repairs. Then from the top of the server rack is going to be up here somewhere. And then there will be a cable tray that goes from that across to that wall, and then cable distribution will go wherever it needs to go, all over the place. From this point here, there is access to everywhere. Oops, this laptop is sitting in a strange angle. So from that part there, this part of the wall, there is access to anywhere you need to go in the building. It can either go through that plasterboard there, above the suspended ceiling. It can go around the corner, up along the ceiling. Yeah, so that is the logical place to have all of the network cable spread out to where it needs to go. And so, yeah, the cable trays aren't here. They're actually at home. I've had them sitting in my garage for years. I've got a couple of spare cable trays, but I need to get them here. They won't fit in my car. Cable trays are long. So I've got to stick them on the roof rack on the other car and bring them over here. Now, hang on, what have I been? Sausage says, clean room with positive pressure filtered air. Yes, exactly. And Buford asked, have you spoken on how you'll have the airflow set up in the clean room? No, I haven't. I haven't spoken about it. I only have a general idea of it. I haven't actually got to the point of doing a proper plan of that. The concept, basically, is that the room will also, I need to qualify this. Technically, I'm not building a clean room to any particular standards. I'm not trying to comply with meeting certain certification or anything like that. This is still me and just me, like as a hobby sort of thing. This is a kind of over-the-top hobby that also makes money. So what I'm trying to do is build an environment for me to work in that is a major step up from what I've had at home with stuff in the back of my garage and in the spare room behind the garage and all of that sort of thing. So the environment that I'm working in at the moment is both too small and too dirty. It's just not clean enough. So what I'm doing here is really trying to build a space that is like the hobbyist's dream of what a good work environment could be. And so part of that is that I am going to be closing this room off. It's not like I don't have air showers. I don't have proper like air sealing or anything. It's not actually going to be like an airtight room. I am just going to have basically like a fan or a blower or something like that, which will cleanish room, which will bring filtered air in, and the air will then exit out through several places, probably mostly as the door is open and closed. So yeah, it's not a proper it's not a proper clean room. It's going to be a cleaner room. Hang on, who is messaging me? Okay. Okay, Sion said, I feel I should clarify my reasoning on my bling comments. One of the reasons I've not made the move yet is the angst of spending dollars on outfitting someone else's property. Big investment. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so bus driver said, I think you spoke about double doors in the wall that isn't there yet, access for bulk items, etc. Did you decide on design yet, or are the doors behind you the access? No, there is no wall yet where the double doors are going to go. So I will take you on a little look-see. Hang on, I've got to switch. I'm confusing myself again. All right, back to this view. Now, if we look at the floor, all right, so where I was standing a second ago, I was standing just there and the laptop was sitting on that, like near the can and where my jacket was. So the rack is going to go there. This wall is going to continue along there and essentially the edge of that painted area in front of all of that stuff down to there. That will be the back corner of the cleanish room. And right where that is there, that's where the double door is going to go. So if I come for a little walk along here, the general plan is to build a steel frame that will go probably from about there straight up and across and back down again and be bolted into the concrete, into the slab on both sides. And that steel frame will then support a double door that will go into that area. And I think a lot of the time that double door will just be kept closed, but it'll be available to be able to get things in and out of that room, because we want to be able to do things like run in probably a pallet jack or a forklift through that double door in order to move heavy things, because the pick and place machines are like unloaded. I think they are around 280 kilos, something like that. It's too big to be able to just pick it up and move around, even if you've got a couple of enthusiastic people. It really takes something like a forklift or a pallet jack to move them around. So I need enough room for that to get in. For the algo. Yeah. Oh, and following on from Sion's comment earlier about the cost of fitting out someone else's place, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, etc. That is stuff the landlord keeps if I ever move out. It makes me feel ill considering the costs involved. Yes. Right. Yes. What was I doing? Oh yeah, that's right. I was right here. And right here. Okay. So yeah, I haven't gone to the trouble yet of actually trying to arrange this in a sensible way. I've just been throwing stuff in so that I could then drag it around. So I've just allowed space for a UPS at the bottom, keep all the weight down low, make it nice and stable, and probably some NAS and NVR or something down the bottom. NAS boxes tend to be very heavy as well because they're full of discs, big boxo discs, and then keyboard drawer at a reasonable height so that I can slide it out and stand in front of it with the keyboard at a reasonable height. I haven't actually looked, where is rack unit 21 in terms of height? That is probably a reasonable height. Let's just go for another little walk. Rack unit, oh, it might be, oh no, that's pretty much perfect. Okay. Let's switch this back to here. So rack unit 21 is there. That is, if I'm standing in front of this and that keyboard was in rack unit, if I was standing in front of this and the keyboard was in rack unit 21, that's pretty much perfect. It could be a bit higher, like 23 or 24. 23 for me is probably about the optimal height, like elbow straight, hand straight out. 21 is fine. So somewhere in the 21 to 23 unit range is a good spot for the keyboard. And then monitor high up, put that here. And one of the advantages of doing that is that the cable tray is going to come in over the top and then have cable tray will come in over the top and then have a sweep down. So the incoming cable will come in through here, and having a monitor at the front means that there is a large void in the top here, which is very useful for the cable entry and cable routing. So I think, yeah, there are a couple of things that a lot of stuff that goes into racks can be moved around, but there are a few things that are useful to have in certain places. The things like UPS in the bottom of the rack, because it gives it lots and lots of mass low down. Monitor sort of fairly high to keep it up out of the way. And also you can get slide out monitor keyboard units, but they're expensive and I'm trying not to spend any money. Having the keyboard sort of at mid height so that you can slide it out and it's at a really nice height to be able to use is convenient. So, and then other things can move around. What you can see here is keyboard drawer is at position 21, which is nice, UPS in the bottom, monitor at the top, and just from a logical point of view, I don't know why, but the way my brain works in particular is things like routers and stuff high in the panel. So in this particular case, I've got the security gateway up near the top, I suppose, because I think of the cables coming in being from the top, and so logically that's the entry point. It's where the internet arrives. And then I've got Andrew's cloud key in here just so I can play around with it. I'm not sure if I'll end up using it because I use the Unify controller software running on a VM at Linode. And so what I'm going to do is adopt these devices into that instance of the controller so that I can manage both the network here and at home from the same interface, just because it's got multi-site support, and you can select which site you want. I can select the home site and then see all those devices, or I can select the SuperLab site and see all those devices. So aggregation switch at the top, once again, it just kind of seems to make sense. And then a 24-port switch for, and the patch panel, which is where all of the, like the PC connections will be terminated. And then a 24-port switch with PoE for running the security cameras. So there'll be IP cameras all through the place. And there's going to be a light switch controller. So this will be an OXRS light switch controller and a patch panel for the cables that will go out to that. And the idea is to have all of these paired up. So what's pretty common is, for example, if you've got, say, a 48-port switch, you put a 24-port patch panel on either side, one above and one below. And then you can run very short, like 15 centimeter patch leads, just looping around, and you don't have to have cables crossing in each other. You can have neat routing from the top half of the ports on the Ethernet switch going to the upper patch panel, and the lower ones going to the bottom patch panel. It makes sense. So what I've got here is a grouping of the Ethernet switch and a patch panel. Ethernet switch, patch panel. Light switch controller, patch panel. So it's just lots and lots of little looped patches coming around through there. Now, what is everybody saying? Sausage said, got NBN fiber there. No, I do not, unfortunately. There's... Gavin said, RU37 for monitor is a bit high for ergonomics and may cause neck pain. Yeah, I don't expect I'm going to be standing at this thing using the keyboard and the monitor for more than a couple of minutes at a time. That's really the only reason for having it there. In fact, what I could do is I could put that on the back of the rack, because these racks are very deep. They're deeper than a regular rack. I could put those on the back, and the only time I'm ever going to use it, I kind of regret selling the KVMs, because for years I held on to a whole lot of networking equipment that was at IVT. I had I had two 16-port KVMs, so KVM over IP, and I had a couple of power distribution units, which were, once again, IP control, like network controlled and power monitoring and all of that sort of thing. And I sold it all. I think I sold the PDUs for $150, some crazy thing, because they'd been sitting in my garage for years and I just wanted to get rid of them. So I sold them on eBay or Gumtree or somewhere. And now I wish I had those KVMs. But the thing is that I'm not really going to be... Yeah, those things mattered at IVT when we had racks and racks full of servers. But what I'm going to be installing here is different. I just don't need servers. It's not like I'm running hundreds of websites or anything out of this, or big databases or whatever, like the stuff we used to do at IVT. So I don't... In fact, I'm struggling to think even what the monitor is going to be plugged into. It'll be plugged into the NAS, because that's essentially going to be like a PC sort of thing. But pretty much everything these days is managed over either with a management console sort of thing, or like my preference is Ubuntu or Debian on boxes where possible. So that's all just managed over SSH. And ultimately I want this stuff integrated into OXRS. So there's going to be an OXRS management interface for it. So the only time the keyboard and the monitor in that rack would be used would be things like a complete OS reinstallation or fixing a network problem when you can't get access to the machine over the network. Most of the stuff that's going to be in that rack. I'm just looking at that big pile of gear there now. Almost nothing's got a video out on it these days anyway. It's all managed over IP. Yeah, as James says, screens are nice for doing initial setup and troubleshooting. Yeah. Yes. So, and also for doing things like showing live waterfall charts and stuff. If you've got a screen in the rack, you can make it look fancy. Bling for free. Yeah, one thing that's really cool, years and years ago, I set up some wall displays at IVT. We had a few 42-inch LCD TVs attached to the wall, and we also had rows of monitors on the wall, and we showed lots of real-time statistics on it, and also information from the systems that we were running, like number of registered users and active sessions and all those sorts of things. So you can stand there and look at the real-time data of what's going on. And there are some pretty nice network traffic visualizations. Like there's, I'm struggling to remember what they're called now because this was so many years ago. But there are visualizations like bubbles, so a circle showing a device like a server or whatever with its IP address, and then lines between the circles that show the network connections, and the size of the circle and the thickness of the links between them show things like the rate of network traffic. So you have a chart where there are a whole lot of circles that are all connected to each other in a crisscross sort of pattern, sort of moving around the screen, and as network traffic changes between the devices, you can see the activity on the links between them. Looks really, really cool. So Dodgy says, just need a remote keyboard. Yeah, well, that's what I had with the KVM over IP. That would have solved it. We used to do, in fact, with those, you can do full operating system reinstalls. You can start with a machine with nothing on it, or you can do like a total wipe and reinstall totally over the network. And we used to do that. So at IVT, we had KVMs on all of the machines that were in the racks in the data center. So we used to be able to sit at a desk at the office in Croydon and do like a full operating system reinstall on a machine in the data center, which was very cool. And Richard said, yeah, with PyKVM, so basically like a cheapy DIY version of the stuff we used to use at IVT. So yes, I sold those KVM over IP devices, unfortunately, with big boxes of cables, so many cables, because of course they have to plug into, because they did keyboard and mouse connections as well. So keyboard and mouse and video, and when you have that to an entire rack full of machines, it's a lot of cables. Stephen says, these days it's all IPMI for that. Yeah, that's right. With modern stuff, there are management devices in it, but this is, I'm talking about a few years ago now, and also cheap, just using regular grade hardware for doing server type tasks. Yeah, Scott says, I like to keep a small PC in the racks to use as a local terminal for configs and stuff. Yeah, that can be useful. And so just using and Tradie Trev says I'm using Synergy at the moment. Yeah, I've used that in the past as well. I've used Synergy, I've used X2X, and what's the other one? So most recently I was using Quick Synergy on my Mac, and yeah, I used to use X2X a lot when I was exclusively Linux, and yeah, anyway, kind of off the topic here. Not that there is a topic, that's the whole point. There is no topic. There is no topic. Right, so I put this together a few days ago just to start throwing things into the arrangement stuff here, and then I can shuffle things around. I don't actually have everything in here yet. Like whatever is on the right here, not all of it. Like this list here was just me brainstorming of, oh, what things do I need? And then I just started putting things in here. So it's kind of like two lists that are not the same. Some things are the same and some things aren't. I think there are things in here that aren't in here and vice versa. And yeah, this is one of those things where I just need to, this is a sort of job that I do in the evening, sitting in front of the TV. I'll be sitting there with my laptop. Oh, speaking of which, I better plug power in. I'll be sitting there in front of the TV with my laptop and just idly playing around with this sort of thing, which is exactly how, like this was last night, sitting in front of the TV. I was just playing around with the spreadsheet, figuring out, oh, where should I put the lights? Okay, this makes a nice arrangement and the spacing works out well. And yeah, this was a similar thing a few nights ago, sitting there thinking, where should I put stuff in the rack? Just so that when I do start putting things in, it's in a sensible place and I don't have to totally rearrange things because I realize, oh no, I should have allowed space between these things for that thing, and it's all a bit of a pain. Okay, now, what? I don't know what. I have no idea what. Scott says, you're missing the second UPS. Oh, and Sion reminded me of something that he asked me about earlier, which is the topic of conveyor progress. The short answer is no progress because I haven't even been looking at it. And basically for the same reason that this needs to be a short live stream, which is, hang on, did I freeze there for a minute? It looks like OBS is having trouble. I'm not even sure if there is any, just let me know if I'm still alive, please. Am I alive? I don't know. It looks like I've been having some problems. Okay, and now it's come back. I don't know what that was. All right, so the reason that I am here today doing this live stream from here, and my intention is to cut it short. I'm just over an hour now, so I'm going to cut it short fairly soon, I thought. I think is, as I said earlier, I am 3-ish months into the process of trying to get this space ready and be able to actually move in and start using it. So far, it has just been lots and lots of setup, zero benefit, and things have just got worse at home in terms of work environment because I am so out of space. I've been trying to do some small-scale production recently. Oh, looks like the connection is dropping again. As long as the audio is okay, that's what really matters. So I could just give you a black screen or something, and that would be an improvement as long as I had audio. So I'm at the stage where I am frustrated and I just need to, thanks for letting me know, both Chip and Dodgy. So I need to just crunch on this and get this space ready so that I can start using it. Right now, it is taking up all of my spare time working on it, and I need to do production, and I need to be able to scale it up. I've had a couple of days ago, hang on, I need this. A couple of days ago, a client asked me about scaling up production of boards for him. And it's frustrating because I should be in a position now where the where this space is ready and I can start using at least one of the pick and place machines and run through boards more quickly. And I'm just not there yet. So what I need to do is go into... basically, I'm just ramping it up. What I've been doing so far is using spare time in between other things or evenings or weekends, coming down here, doing a little bit, and then going back home and working. And it's going to drag on for months more if I keep doing it this way. I need to just cram on it. So Dodgy says, would it be more efficient to have someone finish it for you? Probably, but I can't afford it. I just don't have the money. Like to pay people to come in and do all of this stuff. Yeah, it's not really practical. So I'm trading money for time. And yes, I know there is the formula of how much is your time worth, and am I better off spending time doing billable hours and then paying someone else to come and do this work? The problem is I don't have the cash reserves to be able to pay someone. And technically, I would probably be better off to pay people to work on this, but that does take cash reserves. And I have 0 cash reserves. I'm overstretched. I'm actually in debt at the moment. So the only thing I can really do is to use my own time to crunch on this to get it ready so that I can then do the contracting work to make the money. So anyway, that's where it is. So Mr. Fixer says, jump in and kick butt. Yes, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Richard says, so I want to lend a hand. Sadly, my hand is with me in Canada and my arms aren't that long. Yeah. Where in Canada? I would love to visit Canada again. Canada is cool. In fact, just yesterday, I saw a show that was in... It was My Floating Home. Yes, it's one of the types of shows that I watch. Things like home improvement, home reno shows, and that sort of thing. And there was a show that was set in somewhere near Vancouver on a river or something. And there was a community that was mostly floating houses. So there were docks with boats and huge, like, I'm not talking about, houseboat sort of things. These were like 3-story houses, like big houses that just happened to be on water, and like rows of them it was really cool. Sausage. Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Everything helps. Yeah, so I haven't been to the Vancouver area, but it looks amazing. I've spent a bit of time around Montreal and across to Niagara, and passing through Toronto on the way to Niagara. And Canada is the parts of Canada that I've seen, it's an amazingly beautiful country, and I would really like to go back. But yeah, the Vancouver area looks cool. Oh, Richard, you're in Toronto. Cool. Yeah, so I have passed through Toronto. I got caught in a traffic jam in Toronto on the way to Niagara from Montreal, but I haven't actually stopped in Toronto and spent time there. Yeah, it's it's a very cool place. So, what else is there? What have I missed? I feel like I need to end this stream because I want to get on with building stuff. I mean, I love talking to you all, and I do really want to, um, I do really want to spend more time on live streams, but I am in the situation where I just need to cram on this and try to get this done so I can get it to the point where I can begin moving things in and make it a useful, workable place. Peter called, it's lunchtime. Yes, you can do the early lunchtime call. Yeah, okay. I am going to go and build something. So, let's see. How do I do this? Just before I go, is there... What? Sion. For the Bunnings Fund. I was at Bunnings this morning. Sion, that is incredibly generous. Thank you so much. I was at Bunnings this morning. I didn't spend $150. It was a bit less than that, but it wasn't a whole lot less. Yes. I am going to... okay. So, sausage. Where... Sausage is so Bunnings is famous for sausages. I'm not going to go and get $150 worth of sausages, but maybe I should get a Bunnings sausage for lunch. One-upmanship. Peter, stop it. Wow. Okay. Let's make this a competition. I feel really bad about this. No, if it's a competition, it's just going to make me feel terrible. I really appreciate it. Yeah, now I can have steak. Oh, Richard, what have you done? Thank you to everybody that is contributing. I really appreciate this. It is very cool. And lobster, yeah. So it's gone from Bunnings sausage to steak and lobster, steak and wine. Wow. This is, yeah. That is crazy. Canadian dosh is more valuable. Yeah, I don't know what the exchange rate is at the moment, but in the past, the Canadian dollar and Australian dollar used to be pretty much on a par, but I don't know where it stands at the moment. Yeah, wow. So, right. I think I better go before anybody else gets the urge to do that, because I really appreciate everybody supporting me with this, and I get I do get plenty of offers of people saying, I'd like to come and help you, like just physically help. And I've had a couple of people actually come and help. So like Cable Tie has been down here and helped me with some things. And Andrew Cochran came down and yes, dodgy, I am going red. Andrew Cochran came down a week or so ago and brought me the networking gear. And so, yeah, and I've had other people visit as well. My friend Steve has been and put in lots of hard work physically working on the place here. So I've had other people offer to come and physically help as well. But it's kind of tricky. It's in a situation where, because I'm kind of making this up as I go and figuring things out, if someone comes down and says, I will help you do things, the problem is that I don't really have jobs that I can allocate and say, okay, this is something that needs to be done. It's mostly just puzzling stuff along, puzzling stuff around. But yeah, helping financially is a really big thing as well. And it will help with make this happen faster, because it means I can pay for things. Things like the ceiling, which I put off buying for a couple of months, and I ended up finding one really cheaply on Gumtree. Yeah, there are things that I am putting off buying until I absolutely need them, and so the financial help, the contributions do actually help a lot. Right, okay, yes, Gavin says, this is exactly my plan. Gavin says, make one room functional like the front office, then move on to the next room. Yes, so I am going to wrap up. I'm going to end the stream, but just to wrap up, my plan now is, right now I am jammed into one room plus my garage. My goal is, so right now I am ignoring what is going to become the cleanish room. I am ignoring the mechanical area and the stock storage area. I've kind of cleaned them up compared to what they were, but now I'm just using them as like staging area. All of my focus now is on getting that front room ready, and I've got to make that usable, because what I can do then, even if just that room is ready, I don't need any of the rest of it, just that room is ready, I can then transplant probably 80% of what I've got in my workshop at home into that room, just like pick the whole thing up, move it and put it down, and then I can be functional again, and I'll be functional in this space instead of being at home. And once I've got that and I can actually do something useful in here, it means that I will be here 5 days, well, realistically more than 5 days a week, but let's say 5 days a week, I will be here, and then that will also make it easier to continue working on the rest of it and begin setting up the rest of the space, because it won't be a matter of working there and coming here to do renos and then going home and working and then coming back to do renos. I think it'll accelerate things along. Right. Thanks for the encouragement, Chip. Yes. I am trying to pace it. Dodgy says, can you run the pick and place from the office for a bit? That is the plan. So, and that ties into what Stephen said, which sounds like the pick and place room is higher priority. All right, I'm going to do this in a couple of stages. The very first thing is to get, so I have 3 pick and place machines currently in storage next door in Lachlan's factory. I'm going to get one of them into the front room and just have it sitting in the middle of the room and get it running. And then that at least will give me a replacement for my current DIY pick and place machine, and should be able to dramatically speed up my ability to produce boards. And while I'm going to use it in the front room temporarily, and while I'm then building the walls and everything. So it's going to cost about $6,500 to build the walls and the ceiling for the cleanish room. And so Peter says, can't even pay me to bugger off. No. So then that room will be built, and then the pick and place machine can be moved from the office back out into the cleanish room. I like that name. I'm just going to call it the cleanish room from now on. Gavin said something about Velcro for the cables, no cable ties, adjustable, problem solved. What was that in relation to? I'm not sure. But yes, Velcro cable ties are definitely the way to go for things like network cable, not plastic cable ties, which crimps the cable and you got to cut them off and stuff. No, okay, Sausage, I'm going to leave before there are more donations. Okay. Where am I? Okay. I'm going to click this button that will take me to the end screen. And thank you all for coming along, and thank you very much for the donations. And hang on, I'm going to scroll back and call out the specific people. So the Sausage, Sion, Peter, and Richard. Thank you very much for the super chat things, or whatever they are called. And I hope you all have a fantastic week. And I will... Oh, also, one final thing. I am leaving, I promise. I've been posting photos in the SuperLab build channel on Discord. So for like little updates every day or two, make sure you get on Discord and check out the SuperLab build channel, because that's where I've been posting things. As I've been progressing, I've just been taking photos and sticking them up there. So you'll get much more detail and fine-grained progress reports if you go and check that out. Okay, so have a great weekend, what's left of it, and I will talk to you all soon. See ya.